Once a map has been built into a material, you'll many times find yourself needing to edit that image to better control the way that it looks on the object that it's been applied to. Seldom will a bitmap be just right without any adjustment. No, there's almost always going to be a need to tweak it at least a little bit. This video will show you some of the various controls that you have at the material map branch level in order to make those changes and adjustments. I'll be using a file named Edit Maps, which you can find in the Working Files folder. It's a basic scene consisting simply of a flat box that we'll use as a canvas on which we can apply and adjust our skin. Let's see what we can do. We'll open up the material editor, then resize our perspective window. We can do that by simply positioning our mouse where the viewports come together, holding down the left mouse button, then dragging up and to the left. Once we've done that, let's go ahead and zoom in just a tad so we can get a closer look. Okay, over in the material editor, let's apply the currently selected sample ball. We'll then jump up on the diffuse branch of our material tree by clicking on the Map Shortcut button just to the right-hand side of the diffuse color swatch. When the browser opens, we'll choose Bitmap. Navigating over to the Chapter 11 folder in the Working Files, let's choose the picture named Pattern Diagonal. Okay, halfway down in the material editor, in the Bitmap Parameters section, let's now click on the button that reads View Image. This will give us a chance to take a closer look at the map. As you can see, we're dealing with a very small pattern. One that, when applied to our canvas, is going to need to have to stretch and scale quite a bit in order to fit the extents or outside borders of the surface. That's going to make for a pretty large pixelated pattern. Let's close the map window, then activate Show Shaded Material in Viewport. We're going to need to take the pattern down quite a bit in size if we want it to work. We can do that using the tiling controls in the middle of the coordinates section in the material editor. You'll notice that there's two separate tiling settings. One that'll be used to repeat our pattern going left to right. The other will duplicate the design traveling up and down. Now the way it works is the U setting controls the horizontal direction, while the V setting will work in the vertical orientation. Let's do this. We'll take the tiling values to 2 and 2. The larger the tiling numbers we use, the smaller the size of the pattern in the map. Let's try a value of 4 by 4. Let's see how things would look if we used a tiling of 8 and 8. And one more, let's compare that to a tiling value of 20 by 20. So when building your pattern, you'll take the numbers as high as you've got to go to get the design looking like you need it to look. Let's take our tiling values back to 8 by 8. To the left of tiling, you've got your offset controls. This can be used to slide the image either left or right, or up or down, all depending on the spinner you adjust. Here's how things would change if we adjust the U offset. And here's how things would look by changing the V offset. I'll right-click on both spinners when I'm done, setting their values back down to 0. Over on the right-hand side, you've got your angle control, which basically spins the map on the surface. Let's try a value of 90 and see how that changes the pattern. Let's see how things would look if we instead used the number 180. Once we've locked that in and checked out the results, let's take the W angle back to 0. We can again simply right-click on either of its spinners. In between the tile and angle settings, you've got two columns, Mirror and Tile. These can be used to make the pattern in the map repeat in a different manner or direction. Let's see how things would look if we activated the bottom mirror checkbox. So that gives us a completely different pattern. Let's see how things would look by activating the top mirror. Let's take the bottom mirror back to Tile. So if you like the overall pattern, but maybe not the exact design that you're getting, you might end up with something that you like. Okay, let's go ahead and switch out our map. Down in the Bitmap Parameters section, let's click on the long Bitmap button that ends in the name Pattern Diagonal. This is our way of telling Max that we'd like to use a different picture than the one that we're currently using. When the dialog opens, this time let's choose Warning Sign. This is an image that's been provided courtesy of 123rf.com. Now with this one, we're going to want to return our tiling to 1 and 1. Why don't we go ahead and change the shape of our sample slot so we can get a better look at the picture in the material editor. We can make that conversion over in the vertical row of icons to the right-hand side of the slots. Up at the top, we'll click on Sample Type. then change the shape over to a cube. We can even rotate the slot to a different angle. You can do that by putting your mouse over the slot, right-clicking, then from the menu choosing Drag Rotate. The cursor now having changed, let's hold our mouse down, rotating the cube. This comes in especially handy when wanting to see how the lighting in your scene might affect your material. To get the cube back to its original orientation, you'd right-click again, this time choosing Reset Rotation. If wanting to take that sample slot back to being able to be copied to another location, you'd want to change things back to Drag Copy. Okay, let's click on the View Image button again so we can take a look at the picture. You'll notice the image has a red box surrounding the picture. The box having control handles in each corner and at 12, 6, 3, and 9. You can change the size of the box to restrict the actual area of the map that you'll use in the scene. Let's grab the handle in the upper left-hand corner, dragging it closer to the skull and crossbones in the middle of the picture. Let's do the same thing with the lower right-hand side handle, pinning it just to the lower side of the word Danger. If you then need to move the resized bounding box around the screen, you can simply grab it in the middle. When you're happy with both the size and location, back in the Material Editor under Bitmap Parameters, you'll want to click on Apply. Closing the View Image window, you'll see the results back in the scene. By the way, this cropping region can also be animated if you ever have a call for that. Let's go ahead and turn the Apply button back off and we'll load a different map. This time, let's choose Metal Rust. Now, to show you the next couple of things, I'd like to use 3ds Max's Active Shade option, converting our working window into a render window, giving us a live connection back to our material anytime we make a change or adjustment to the skin. Let's click on the name of our perspective view, then choosing Extended Viewports Active Shade. Now, if you want more information on how Active Shade works, make sure to check out the chapter on rendering a little later on in the title. Another option you'll find in the Material Editor is the ability to blur your map. Down below the tiling controls, you'll see a setting named Blur Offset. With this one, you don't need to make a major change in the value to see a dramatic difference in the scene. Let's take the offset number to 0.5. You can see what I mean. Let's take that number to 0.1. And we'll also experiment with a value of 0.03. Okay, let's return the setting to 0 by right-clicking on either of its spinners. A little further down in the controls, you can even reverse the coloration in a map. Let's right-click in the Material Editor, then from the menu, choose Output. In the upper left-hand area of that section, you'll find the Invert button. Let's activate that. Then we'll turn it back off. There's also a very special control in the Output section called Enable Color Map. You'll find it a couple options below Invert. Let's go ahead and activate that. This setting allows you to adjust both the light and dark qualities within a map, the tonal range of the map, in other words. Down on the graph, the left-hand side control point controls the darker areas of the picture. Once we've moved that around a bit, we'll take the value back to 0. The control handle that you see on the right-hand side controls the lighter areas of the map. Let's take that side back to 1. You can also create additional control points within the control curve. Up on the upper left-hand side, you'll see an icon called Add Point. Let's click that, then add a point into the middle of our line. I'll then go back to the Move Control Point command, taking that point a little farther down. You can see the dramatic effect that creates. Let's go ahead and delete that point. What's nice about these handles is they too can be animated, which really opens up the possibilities. So that ought to give you a little idea of some of the settings that Max offers when wanting to change the look of a map. Everything we've covered will definitely come into play, and soon. So remember the settings, experiment with how they work, and pack them into your toolbox. You're going to need them on your next project.